everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to our playthrough of Arkham Horror, the card game, where we're taking on the Dream Eaters campaign. I'd also like to welcome all of the subscribers to the channel. I really appreciate your support. This video, we're going to upgrade the decks using the experience we earned from each side's respective first scenarios. The Dream Investigators, Lola and Harvey, earned 4 experience, but they also got rocked and suffered a mental trauma apiece. As for the Waking Investigators, Jenny and Ursula did a little better, picking up 7 experience, but Jenny also suffered a mental trauma from having to leave her sister, Izzy, behind in their first scenario. Anyway, that'll do it for general observations about outcomes. Now let's get to the upgrades, and we'll start with the Dreamers and Lola Hayes. Lola, we have a bit of a problem here. I either need to give you a charisma right now, or I need to strengthen your firepower. So let's take a quick look at charisma. So here's a copy of charisma. It's a 3 experience card to pick up. It's permanent, which means it starts in play and can never leave play. You have 1 additional ally slot. When you turn on the charm, it could light the entire town. So that's just a quick look at charisma. Whether I decide to give you the charisma right now or strengthen your firepower, whatever I don't do, I probably need to do next. Now, I could very easily make arguments in both directions. You can see the relevant cards here that I'm looking at. The addition of Randolph Carter to your deck... Get that. The addition of Randolph Carter to your deck, combined with already having Leo DeLuca, makes me want to give you the charisma now, combined with your perilously low health and sanity stats, even before you suffered that aforementioned mental trauma, makes me want to give you the charisma right now. But looking at how you fared in combat, I almost want to do something about the firepower that you're holding right here. So, ultimately, I think the stats are probably too perilous, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to give you the charisma first. So there's a charisma, we'll move that into Lola's deck. And then I'm also going to upgrade, for 1 experience left, I'm going to upgrade her copy of Leo DeLuca. So the upgrade here, he costs 1 less for 1 experience. So that's actually a pretty big tempo swing, because you can get him out on your first action if you happen to have him in your hand. So hopefully Lola can do a little better on combat in the next scenario. Unfortunately, we'll have to find out and see how that goes. But anyway, that'll do it for Lola. I'll get her upgrades sleeved off camera, and we'll move over to Harvey. Here's Harvey. Now, we didn't do anything with combat for Lola, so I think we're going to do a little bit with combat for Harvey. So what we're going to give him is actually going to give him 2 copies of I've Got a Plan. It's a 2 cost to play for 2 experience. We saw the level 0 version from Ursula last week. 2 lore and a combat on commit. It's an event, fight. This attack uses lore instead of combat. You get +2 combat for this test. You deal +1 damage for this attack for each clue you have, max +3 damage. So we're going to take 2 of those. What we're going to cut is we're going to cut a copy of... We're actually going to cut a copy of Witten Green to get that in. We're also going to cut a copy of Disc of Itzamna. So we'll put those in as more combat-oriented upgrades. So that'll take care of all 4 of Harvey's experience. And we just sleeved it real quick. That'll do it for the Dreamers. Now let's move over to the Wakers, and we'll say hello first to Ursula Downs. Ursula, you somehow ended up being the only investigator to not suffer a mental trauma in the first scenario of your campaign. With 7 experience to play with, like Lola, you're also going to take charisma, because Randolph gives you 2 very powerful allies to fall back on, so there's another charisma. And then we're going to take both of her copies of deduction, and we're going to upgrade them to the level 2 version. So here's deduction 2, 2 experience to play, 2 lore icons on commit. If this skill test is successful while investigating a location, you still discover 1 additional clue at that location, but now you discover 2 additional clues instead if you succeed by 2 or more. So, nothing crazy there. I do have a plan for Ursula that we might need later in the campaign, but I don't think we need it now. With that, let's head over to Jenny. Jenny, unfortunately we did have to leave your sister behind in the last scenario, but I wasn't going to push my luck with that Grey Weaver in the way. Anyway, your 7 experience, we're going to spend 2 of them to upgrade both of your copies of Leo DeLuca to the same versions that Lola has in her deck. Now, the reason I'm okay with having 2 investigators in the same campaign with the same unique named investigator is because they're on opposite sides of the campaign. So they'll never both have Leo, they'll never both be in conflict for looking for Leo DeLuca. So that shouldn't be a problem there. Next up, we're going to take both copies of Jenny's Perception out. I'm going to upgrade one of them into the Moon 18 for 1 experience. So we'll take a quick look at Moon 18. The Moon 18, message from your inner self. 3 experience to play, you get +1 agility. When the game begins, if the Moon 18 is in your hand, put it into play. Open your eyes and listen to your shadow. So we'll probably have to mulligan fairly hard to get our hands on the Moon 18 at the start of the scenario, but that might be worth it once you see what I'm replacing the other copy of Perception with. So we're actually taking Perception completely out of the deck, and we're going to replace it with a new weapon for her. We're going to replace it with the Ornate Bow for 3 experience. So it's a 4 cost to play, 3 experience by the pips. You get a combat and an agility on commit, uses 1 ammo, limit 1 ammo on Ornate Bow. As an action, you can spend an ammo to fight. This attack uses agility instead of combat. You get +2 agility and deal +2 damage for this attack. But as an action, you have to knock another arrow, place an ammo on Ornate Bow. So hopefully with Leo in the deck, that won't punish her too much as far as having to take the extra action to knock an extra arrow. And then we have 1 experience left. For now, I think we're going to leave that floating. We'll have to use that later in the campaign. Anyway, that will do it for the Waking Investigators. Jenny's the last investigator in the campaign period. So let's move back up top and wrap this video up. And we're back up top to wrap this video up. Decks are all upgraded and ready to go. Hopefully the campaign will go a little bit better for the Dreamers. The Waking Investigators are doing a little better, but there's still some room for improvement for sure. Unfortunately for the Waking Investigators, we won't find out about them for another couple weeks yet. Not until after the Dreamers start their search for Kadath, and that's going to be due sometime next week. Anyway, that will do it for these upgrades. Thank you for watching the video. Please do give the video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Follow me on YouTube for live streaming. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.